If for whatever reason you haven't already done this, go to your settings and map drop weapon to a button on your controller. This is a game changer. Normally you have to hold the weapon swap button to drop your weapon. If you map it to a button, you just tap that button to drop your weapon. It's much easier. You'll see I've got up on the D-pad as my mapping. Anywhere on the D-pad, if you're on a standard controller, the D-pad's probably your best bet. Up on the D-pad is the closest to the left stick, at least for my thumb, so it's convenient. That said, I have paddles to make this process easier. I've got a Battle Beaver controller. I've talked about this in my last video. That video I linked in the description if you want to know more, but this one has 6 paddles. This is my first Battle Beaver with 6 buttons, and I got the extra 2 on the bottom for the drop weapon combo and for ping as well to make this process easier. If you're on mouse and keyboard, obviously you've got that flexibility. I will say though, even if you're on a standard controller, if you map it to up on the D-pad, and you're strafing, if you strafe right, you can hit, at least with my thumb, I can hit up on the D-pad while I strafe right at the same time. So I never actually take my thumb off that stick. I will have to obviously take a second to strafe out right as I hit it, but still some flexibility there. It's not that bad. Why do this? Because dropping your primary to swap to your secondary and shoot is noticeably faster than just switching to your secondary and shooting, which conceptually I think is pretty cool and makes sense. If you drop your weapon instead of holstering it, then logically speaking, you should be able to draw your secondary faster. As far as I can tell, the devs included this mechanic on purpose also because if you get a kill while doing this, you get to hold this medal. The actual timing advantage varies from weapon to weapon, and that's something we'll look into, but if used combined with the right weapons, like the Mangler, for example, this is a pretty deadly combo. Of course, we all have different accuracy, but I think it's safe to say that for a pro player, or even just a solid Halo player, hitting 2 body shots with the Mangler to break your opponent's shields at close to mid-range is not super difficult to do, especially on controller where I feel like there's a pretty healthy amount of bullet magnetism, making your aim a little bit more forgiving. And this ability to just 2-shot shield break is clearly very powerful in Halo. Like, even if I don't get the kill and I back down from the fight, breaking your opponent's shields is a one-shot you can call out to your teammates. The difficulty might come down to, hitting that headshot and getting a perfect 3-shot kill. But if you can forego that difficulty by just instantly dropping your weapon and swap it, where to go now? Maybe this is the skill gap, though, too, that we'll talk about. Basically, swapping to BR lets you more reliably hit the headshot. So in the end, you've got a very powerful combo with an extremely fast time to kill that rivals power weapons in a 1v1 in mid-range, minus maybe like the rocket launcher, which could be problematic, and this is why pros are not currently using, or at least the main reason why they're not using it in tournaments. Also why the drop combo has become pretty controversial. Pros think that this is not skillful, they think it's too powerful, and they think in some cases that it offers unfair advantages to paddle controllers. So is this a skill gap, or is this just another mechanic getting abused? We're going to break this down in detail, because there's actually a lot of versatility here to this mechanic. Of course, just pressing the drop weapon button to drop your Mangler is not very skillful. Anybody can just hit the button, but in execution, there are a lot of little difficulties that come into play. For example, I just shot the second shot there, and I missed it, but still dropped the weapon and had to make up for the damage, basically, with the BR. Depending on when I time that input, if I time it too early before I fire the second shot, then I've now delayed myself, and I'm going to get a slower time to kill because of it. So perfectly timing the weapon drop around the second shot, like the moment I fire the second shot, and knowing that shot's going to connect, right? That all has to come together to ensure that you actually hit this combo. There are little risks that come into play if you miss that drop weapon timing, on top of the fact that every time you drop a weapon, you have to make up for that time when you pick up the weapon, because there's a pickup animation that plays out, right? Every time you drop and pick up a weapon, you got to wait for the pickup animation before you can fire that weapon again. I talked about this in my animation canceling video, that you can speed up that animation by YYing, switching your weapon twice the moment you pick it up, so you can shoot slightly faster. So if you want the best mileage out of this combo, and you want to drop combo more than once, after you fire the final shot, ideally get the kill, you're going to have to YY the gun when you pick it up. So when you put it all together, that's a lot of buttons to press, right? 2 shots, hit the drop, pick it up, YY, and I didn't even hit the YY there. Still got the kill, but you get the point. If you want the fastest, most efficient use of this tech, there's a lot of buttons to press. The beauty of the drop combo, in my opinion, is mastering that perfect time to kill with every other weapon in the sandbox combined with the BR. So, for example, the Commando. The perfect time to kill with the Commando is 6 bullets from the Commando, drop, headshot with the BR. The cool thing about this combo is the Commando obviously has bloom and recoil, and that kicks in more and more the longer you hold the trigger down. But only holding down the trigger to 6 bullets is enough to take away a little bit of accuracy, but not enough to significantly hurt your shot. So you can basically just hold the trigger to 6, drop it, and then get a precision headshot for the finish. The Stalker is another great option. 2 shots from the Stalker, drop it, headshot, very fast kill. The Plasma Carbine, hit 1 perfect burst, drop it, headshot, get a kill. The Plasma Pistol, charge shot, drop, headshot, that's a kill. So just mixing and matching all of these different weapons with the BR, you can get some very powerful combos. The shotguns like the Bulldog and the Heat Wave as well, very powerful with this combination. And even reversing it, dropping the BR to the shotty, depending on the situation, getting that quick swap has a ton of potential here. Even if you're not going for the perfect combo, there's still an advantage to quickly recognizing and reacting to the best situations to use this tech. For example, if you're mid-fight, you run out of ammo, you got to reload, you might as well drop that weapon, swap to your secondary faster so you stay in the fight. If somebody surprises you around the corner and you got a shotty in the back pocket, once again, you might as well drop your primary, swap to the shotgun. It might give you a chance to quickly turn the situation around. The sword and the rockets are 2 weapons you definitely want to swap to quickly if you're in a tough spot. And thanks to my editor Lights, we tested this out. Turns out both of these weapons have like a built-in delay that slows down your time to swap, though there is a minor advantage, very minor. It's 0.17 seconds apparently for the rockets and 0.125 seconds for the sword if you drop to swap. So minor, but there is something there. There's another little advantage that's unique and pretty interesting and only possible thanks to the Season 2 patch in the beginning of May. If you remember, 343 didn't nerf the Mangler directly. They nerfed the melee by 10% across the board for every weapon except the BR in ranked. So oddly enough, the BR melee is still the same damage, whereas every other weapon's melee is 10% weaker. If you apply this to the Commando, because of the 10% reduction, it's now a 5-shot beatdown kill instead of a 4-shot beatdown kill. But if you 4-shot drop BR beatdown, it's a 4-shot beatdown kill. So there's a weird little advantage there, and that's the biggest one with the Commando. With the AR, I think it was previously 8 bullets to beat down. Now it's 7 bullets to drop BR beatdown, so obviously not as big of a deal. The sidekick is still the same as far as we can tell. Note that because the Mangler is a bladed weapon, it already had a slightly stronger melee to begin with, so reducing it by 10% doesn't mean that you can one-shot Mangler, swap to BR, and then get the one-shot beatdown. That's not possible. But just in general, I'm curious to know what you guys think about this. It's making me feel like just the more that time goes on, the more I feel like I kind of wish they just took the Mangler out of competitive instead of worried about just kind of nerfing everything. As much as I like to have the sandbox involved in competitive play, there's clearly a lot of advantages with the Mangler to the point where pros just simply don't want to use it. We would have been better off just getting it out of the sandbox and letting the social players use the vanilla Mangler the way it was. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Obviously, the Mangler was in a pretty powerful position, so I understand the nerf, but in general, maybe they just didn't need to touch it and just take it out of ranked, and then we wouldn't have this problem. The last area where the drop combo offers an advantage, and this is a pretty big one in my opinion, is with picking up weapons. And another little sneaky patch, by the way, picking up rockets is obviously very slow. It's been slow since the game came out. It used to be a little bit slower. 343 patched it so that it draws slightly faster. In doing so, they actually removed the swap weapon skill gap, I guess probably unintentionally. Originally, if you YY'd the rockets, you would shoot them faster off a pickup than a standard pickup. But because they sped up the rocket pickup animation, they evened out the timing with the YY in the standard pickup, so there's no advantage to YYing. But there is an advantage to dropping your BR as you pick up the rockets. This is a little precise to time, but basically you want to hold the weapon pickup button to pick up your gun. The instant you start picking it up, hit the drop weapon button to drop your BR as you pick up the rockets. If you do this right, you can shoot the rockets off pickup 0.33 seconds faster. Once again, it's minor, but 0.3 seconds is enough in pro play, I think, to be a difference maker. So something to keep in mind, you hold the weapon button down or hold the pickup button down and tap the drop weapon the moment you start picking it up. And remember, you can apply this for any weapon. It's useful for the sniper or for the shotguns. We tried it for the sword, but once again, the sword has like a built-in delay, so turns out there's no advantage dropping your weapon, picking up sword. So something to keep in mind. But for everything else, you never know when that tiny time save could save your life. As far as I'm aware, those are all of the advantages of the drop combo in Halo Infinite. Clearly the most powerful animation cancel in the game. If there's something I missed, feel free to let me know in the comments and add to the discussion. But overall, I think despite the power of this, there's enough to learn and master here for me to clearly think that this is a skill gap in the game. Though, once again, it is very powerful. A little while ago, E United Spartan brought up an interesting point about the combo offering unfair advantages for paddled controller players. Basically, there's so many actions in Halo Infinite that if you have a standard Xbox controller, the only place you can realistically map drop weapon to is on your D-pad. If you map it anywhere else, you're going to have to take a different high priority input and move that to your D-pad instead, which is obviously inconvenient. If you have a paddled controller, this is much easier. You can commit it to your muscle memory by just simply having drop weapon on a paddle. So I understand where he's coming from. It's interesting that Spartan's the one that's saying this, though, because as a pro player, you would think that you'd get access to any controller you want more easily and would ideally be, excited about the idea of learning the extra nuance. But I can understand from the perspective of a casual not wanting to be like paywall blocked into a skill gap, let's say, even though, like I said earlier, if you map it to your D-pad, it's not a massive disadvantage. You can still find ways to hit that button very quickly without completely sacrificing movement. But it is an interesting point, and I'm curious to know what you guys think. Also, another reason why I think that paddled controllers should just be the standard across the board today. Like, every single game practically requires the extra convenience and nuance. You got people busting their hands trying to claw and play games. Like, just offering that as the standard should be a necessity, I think, in 2022. So it's annoying. But anyway, apart from that, though, the drop weapon combo is still clearly very powerful. Should players be allowed to get kills this quickly? Does it ruin Halo in some way? Let me know, and if so, how would you fix it? Would you remove it entirely? Typically, I'm the type of person who likes to preserve any nuance that's found in Halo, assuming there is somewhat of a risk reward to it, and I think that this does offer some risk for its reward. It's also a very unique skill gap we've never seen in Halo before, but do you hate that? Is it goofy? Whatever, let me know. The best fix I've heard of, at least, I know some pro players are saying that if you made it so that drop combo was hold to drop as mandatory, so you take out the ability to tap to drop, but the drop speed is still the same, so the skill gap is still there, but you would have to hold to drop to create the combo, basically. This would mean you'd have to start holding right before, with the Mangler, for example, you'd have to start holding right before you fire the second shot so that you perfectly get the fast drop into the third follow-up shot for the kill. So basically, this would make it much more difficult to still get the timing advantage, but the drop combo would still exist. But in doing this, you would remove the fast pickup option, and you would remove the reactionary component to the drop combo, where if you find yourself in a bad spot, you wouldn't just be able to reactionarily hold the button down for the drop anymore, right? So some of the nuance would disappear, but the drop combo would still exist. It would just be more challenging. That's the only option I've seen. And that's all I got for the drop combo in this video. Thank you guys for watching. By the way, in case you're wondering how I got in the roof, shout out to Kanzi for finding this spot. You need a repulsor to get in here. Stand in the corner and jump repulse. I hit my drop button there. Jump repulse, and you can sit on top of the camera. This might get patched, but we'll see. I mean, you need a repulse to get here. Sneaky spot. I'm not sure if your feet can be seen, but maybe give it a try. See what you think. Either way, that's it for me. Make sure to check out related content. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'll see you again soon.